Now, returning to our top story, Boris Johnson has said his successor will announce more support for households to cope with rising energy bills next month.
Well, the opposition parties say that help is needed now. Let's speak to Carla Denyer, the co-leader of the Green Party, who joins us from Bristol. Carla, morning to you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us bright and early on a Sunday morning. So what would the Green Party do to try and help people at this time?
Well, as you said, we all know the terrifying situation we're heading into this winter. It's looking like half of UK households could be facing fuel poverty by January. And yet, as your correspondent told us a few minutes ago, the government's proposals are weak and really the leadership candidates' proposals are really still very vague. They're not taking the action that's needed to reassure households that they're going to be okay through this winter. And I'm afraid to say, I don't think the other parties, the opposition parties' proposals are really viable either, because they're proposing to peg the energy cap at its current level, but the current level is already unaffordable for so many. So what the Greens are proposing is to roll back the energy price cap to the level it was last October, a much more affordable level, and to bring the big five energy retail companies into public ownership, because only the government can make an intervention at the scale and speed necessary to ensure that we come out of this crisis, not only with people having survived the winter, but then with the whole country being more resilient and greener by insulating homes and transitioning towards renewables, which, let's not forget, is the cheapest form of electricity.
So your own party figures suggest that taking the cap back to where it was would cost £37 billion. Where would you find the money to pay for that?
That's right. And just to give a bit of context on that figure, that's about the same as what the government spent on the test and trace scheme, or about 10% of what the government spent on helping the public during the COVID pandemic. So, yes, it may sound like a large number, but actually in the context of helping population through an unprecedented crisis, we think it's completely justified. We would pay for it with a much stronger tax on the massive profits that the oil and gas extraction companies are making at the moment. So since before Sunak brought in his quite weak windfall tax, we've been calling for a dirty profits tax. One of the big differences there is that we wouldn't have a massive 91p in every pound loophole that Sunak has introduced, which actually rewards oil and gas companies for extracting more oil and gas. We would remove that loophole and make it a much stronger tax, because those extraction companies are making massive, eye-watering amounts of profit at this stage while people are struggling. We would also not be afraid to increase taxes on the really super rich, because those people aren't the ones who need the support during this crisis.
Liz Truss, if she is successful in becoming Prime Minister, has suggested that she may open the door to fracking. What's your view of that? We need more gas. We need to get a secure supply of gas. We have it under our feet in some parts of this country. Is that a good idea?
No, it's not a good idea at all. Putting more gas into the system is going to make matters worse. It's gas that is pushing up our energy prices at the moment. If the government had gone forward faster with investing in renewables in this country, then we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now. So we're calling for a faster rollout of renewables. Wind and solar are the cheapest ways of generating electricity in this country, and so that would help stabilise the market. We also want to see a big nationwide rollout of energy efficiency measures, especially home insulation, because of course the cheapest bill is the one that you don't have to pay because your home is well insulated. It's warm in winter and it's cool enough in summer.
In France, many people are talking about them as not suffering in the same way that we are from the huge hikes in energy prices. They are going up, but not as much. And that's possibly because they have more nuclear in France. Would you think more nuclear is a good idea here?
I think it's arguably because France has a state-owned energy company, which means that they can have more control over the prices that their customers see, and is part of, I think that's a good example of why part of our proposal is to bring the big five energy retail companies into public ownership so that the government can have more control over the prices and the service that customers receive, and it also gives government the power to help roll out that home insulation scheme, which government-owned energy companies could be a really valuable part of that process.
I mean, the home insulation scheme is an interesting idea. It's been talked about a lot. There have been initiatives at various times over the years, but it costs about £1,200 to do the average house with cavity wall insulation, and that takes 10 years to recoup those savings off your bill. So although that's good in the longer term, it's not the short-term fix and the short-term help that many people need, is it? What would be the case for you if these prices are still this high, say in 12 months' time? Do you repeat the £37 billion giveaway again?
So you're right. Because of bad government decisions over the last 10 years, the government is currently nowhere near being able to achieve the levels of home insulation in this country that's needed. And that was a conscious policy choice by the Conservative government. The UK was actually doing quite well on home insulations until 2012, 2013, when they pulled the rug out by slashing funding. So yeah, that home insulation, it can't be done overnight. It can't all be done, this winter. But that's all the more reason why the UK now needs to throw absolutely everything at improving our country's homes, starting right now. But yeah, that's the medium-term proposal. In the short term, we need to help people to get through this winter, because a lot of people are understandably very anxious looking at the news that came out this week about how they're going to pay their bills, which are going up 80% in one fell swoop. So yes, we would lower the energy price cap, and that will help people get through this winter. What we do after that, no one can realistically predict what's going to happen with the energy market over the next 6 months. So I think what to do in 6 months is something we'll start thinking about soon, but it's a bridge to cross a little bit later on once the picture is clearer.
Yeah, so those factors are out of our control, of course. Things like Ukraine, the government putting about 30 billion in already, they would say. But obviously, as you say, a lot of people very worried at the moment. Carla, thank you very much indeed. Carla Denyer, who's the co-leader of the Green Party there.